Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Pickley, and this week I want to ask, how many dice is too many? So first things first, I just wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone that responded to my request for ideas last week. I've tried to respond to everyone with a short answer. There's a few I've still yet to do, but I will try and do that later today. All the questions have been added to my ideas list. Plenty of future videos amongst the suggestions. So thank you very, very much for all your interest and your involvement. And I hope to turn as many of those questions into videos as I can in the future. But while I ponder those questions in more detail, today's subject has been on my mind for a little bit in the last few weeks. Now I have to ask myself, am I the only gamer that buys new dice with a new rule set? Even though I already own masses of dice, they're all around the house in various different places, I must have hundreds, possibly thousands of dice of one type or another. I mean, you'd think that the dice have a finite number, beyond which you'd never need to buy another, but apparently not. You know, after 40 years, stacks loads of dice, I'm still ordering more. And before we discuss in detail, time for a little bit of dice porn. That is just a tiny selection of what I've got. I have literally got bucket loads in the house. Every rule set I have has got its own dedicated set of dice, and I never use them for other sets. And there's stuff in boxes and all over the place. If I ever put them in one pile and my wife saw it, she would have grounds for divorce, I'm sure she would. But anyway, I digress, let's move on. So why is it that I feel like I'm always buying new dice and always want to buy new dice? Well, there's lots of different reasons. When the kids were younger, they were always helping themselves, which is something is a brilliant reason. You know, the fact that they're into gaming and say, "Dad, I need some dice," and I get to give them a load, and they get to rummage through a box load of dice and find what they need, is a good thing. You know, they may not have necessarily evolved into wargamers, but they are gamers. And as far as I'm concerned, when they come and ask me for dice, I consider my work done. The other reason I'm always buying new dice is different rules use different types of dice. So I play lots of periods, lots of different rule sets. You know, some have particular dice requirements, some have unique dice that are to those sets. So, you know, an example would be, you know, Men of Would-Be Kings, for instance, is predominantly D6 based, or entirely D6 based. But when I play to the strongest, I use D10s. So, you know, I get a new set of rules, start playing with it, realise I need a lot of a particular kind of dice, the next thing you know, I'm buying it. And then a slight development from that is that specialist dice, you know, like the above, some game rule sets need special dice. So for instance, Chain of Command dice for Chain of Command, you know, or direction dice and things like that. I'm a sucker for specialist dice. It has to be said, there's just something I really like about a dice that does one unique thing, whether that's a random, you know, regular random numbers, or whether that is average dice or weighted dice, that sort of thing. I love all that sort of thing. So I've got plenty of examples of those. And of course, my background as a role player means I have all manner of weird and wacky dice specifically for that particular branch of my hobby. And then there's the purely aesthetic reason. I want different coloured dice for different games. So, you know, it's nice to have colours that complement the terrain, for instance, or the period that I'm playing. Yes, I know that's a bit strange, but I like to think that I'm not alone. I'm sure there's some of you out there have done exactly the same. So, you know, I've recently been buying some dice to go with the French Foreign Legion set stuff that I've been painting up, and a game I want to play, and I specifically wanted a blue that looked like the French Foreign Legion great coats and some white dice to complement them for the other side. nice simple opaque D6s, and it's surprising actually I didn't have enough for what I wanted, so I ended up going out and buying. Of course, it didn't help that I needed a particular size. I had plenty of 12mm dice, but I wanted 14mm dice because 16mm dice were too big. I know it's crazy. Saying it out loud doesn't make it seem any less crazy. Then, of course, there's the other reason, superstition. That set of bunch of dice are bad. I need untainted dice. We've all been there. We've all done it at one time or another. When we're around the games table and we seem to be having particularly bad luck with dice, we go, right, I'll get rid of those. I want another load. I'm exactly the same. I tend to buy different sets of dice because that lot's associated with something I don't want to remember, for instance. And a slightly more extreme version of that, have on occasion destroyed some particularly bad dice. You'll have to watch my video, and I'll put a link up here somewhere on how to punish your dice. I may have done that occasionally on one or two occasions when dice have been particularly unruly. So why has this subject come up for me now? Well, I've already hinted at it. I wanted particular dice to go with some particular models for a demo game that I'm running in a couple of months' time. I particularly wanted a size that just, I don't know why, just that particular size dice I needed, and I didn't really have enough. I must have thousands, probably, D6s scattered throughout the house in all sorts of different places. And there I am, I've just ordered another 200, which is a tiny amount really, but nonetheless, another 200 dice winging their way towards me. Some have arrived and waiting for some more. Royal Mail seem to have lost 2 orders of dice. There must be someone at the local Royal Mail sorting office who's a gamer, because 2 orders of dice have not turned up and I've had to get replacements. But anyway, I will eventually get them all. So and then of course last year I bought a couple of 100 D6s, but in a slightly smaller dice, 14mm instead of 12mm instead of 16mm, and I got those in green because they were for my Normandy games, whereas as I mentioned earlier I wanted blue and white for my Foreign Legion games. I know it's madness, but I guarantee you I'm not alone in this. I'm sure there's some of you out there who recognise my particular brand of madness. Which leads neatly on to my usual conclusion, which is, are you as fussy as me? Do you now own more dice than you own miniatures? There must be some of us out there, I'm sure, that I fall into that category. Is my dice obsession normal, or do I need help? That's the big question. Maybe I need to join the Dice Owners Anonymous or something like that, but I'd like to think that it's just another branch of the hobby and I'm not alone. So I'd love to hear your stories. How many crazy bunches of dice have you ordered when you know you've already got some? I'd love to hear your stories. So as usual, please join the conversation in the comments below or over on my blog, Big Lee's Miniature Adventures. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share, and of course click the bell notification icon if you want to keep up to date whenever I publish a new video. So that's it. Until next week, stay safe, keep gaming, and of course, keep rolling those dice high.